Good evening, everybody. Hot temperature. Okay? No cold? I'm blanket here.
Are you okay? Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. How's the weather outside? Cold? Really?
The calm before the snow.
I think I have very strong water element. Maybe my body is strong water element. I'm always cold.
One like that.
You like that?
Yeah, heat doesn't bother me, but cold.
Usually now we have 4 elements. And maybe 4 elements is a little bit something different. People, maybe I have more water. Anyway, it's good to all. We come together about learning about Buddhism to give a little job our mind or ourselves. Yeah. That's enough. And 다른 남자의 주 다른 남자의 제와야 제당시고 그래서
So in order to practice the Dharma, you have to know how to do that.
좋아. 아니 냠내 제 수리 참아라. 아니 쇼 제네 속사 저장 속사가 저장이 샤워지나 다 주냠내 제에서 그거 들으세요.
And so in one way, what we call practicing Dharma is engaging in the practice of accumulating merit and purifying negativities.
이제 말이다. 진정인 냠내들아다 냠내 제상다 뭐라고 보여요 그래서.
And for that kind of practice, there are many different ways of doing it.
그래서 가지 속사바는 저가 시험이 다 내까지나 다 주념의 제대로.
So anyway, in a kind of activity that involves the practice of accumulation of merit and purification of negativity is called Dharma practice.
근데 이다 다 냠내 제대로 가서 땜발을 주변 거다가 짬로 해서 그래서.
And so during the practice, the gateway to the teaching, it says Buddhism is taking refuge in the 3 jewels.
아니 어떻게까지 남바 사집에 냠렘바 문이 예다면서 다 정글을 하는 그래서 정글 하는
So whether one is a real Buddhist practitioner or not, it depends on whether one generally takes refuge in the 3 jewels or not.
아니 냠렘바에 태와 친구 냠렘바 예다면서 돼 아니 성질을 하는 그래서.
And then the practitioner, whether he or she is a Mahayana practitioner, depends on whether he or she has generated mind of enlightenment or bodhicitta.
텐제이다 다 텐제이가 짬로도 생제해야 돼. 나도 담보 산제 추성 같다. 추로 같이 되니까 되는 그래서.
And so the first verse that we recited earlier together shows both refuge and bodhicitta.
아니 산제 추당 소주 주나 샤샤바는 다음에 교통 제해야 돼. 산제 추 개들상데 다 산제 마토고 반대 아니가 교통 제가 이해해야 되고.
So when we read, saying in the Buddha Dhamma and Sangha, I take refuge into the enlightened, and that shows that you're going to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until you achieve enlightenment.
좋아. 아니 담보 가면이 들어들마다 다 나란 건 전부에서 아니 생제 탐죠 다 누가 다 고가지 되는 고들이 다 단다가 다 누가 용서만 되려서 다 단다라야 지금 다 고려 동안들에 맡아와 있나 아니 동안야 좀 양다 되는 양고들 다내 동안 내려야 직접 하고 다음에 받는 말라 두다 보면 말라 믿어서 다 되지다 생제 탐죠 동안 내려 타격이 싫다 다 상제 주 괜찮아야 근데 다 자서 이해서 내가지고
So then what you're thinking is that since Buddha's lifetime, I and all sentient beings have gone through all sorts of sufferings, and still we're not free from all this suffering of the psychic existence. So I have to free all sentient beings, including myself, from all the sufferings. And whether I have or not that power to do so And since I don't have that, only being who has that is the Buddha. So I must achieve enlightenment or become a Buddha myself first. And in order to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings, I'm going to take refuge in the three jewels.
근데 잠로 뒤에 섬에 돈에 다른 게 소스 유심받동과 특성성과 저기 좀 바시 쪽에 냐면 나와서 배니 냐면 강한 셰바티 개요 싸워라 때네 다 섬제들이 그 상제 섬제 터주도 상제 도바 쇼원이마나 다 나그 신소 집에서 밀어라 가지고 상제를 쇼세리 이 말에서 다 대로 섬제스와
So conjoined with that thought, then you engage in the practice of generosity, observing morality, or practicing patience, and so forth. Whatever practice of the six perfections you do, and so through that power, through the power of that, it says may achieve enlightenment, to benefit all sentient beings.
어디나 점도 섬제니 대대니지 가지고 다 남의 주고 다 마사를 해서
So that is the bodhicitta and the refuge in bodhicitta, and that is the foundation, the capital of Buddhist practice.
그래서 남주에 남아서 지금 딱 칸에로 제사같이 가르치고 하마고 되면 말이다. 아니 가서다 주소나기. 단단하고 또 주시를 가고 내 말에 자동 진권도 간다 말이다. 단 말에 되는 비교를 해서.
So among you, if you want to do a daily practice but you don't know what to do, then you can just recite that prayer that we recited during the teaching from the beginning to the end. If you just recite that, and that will be good enough of having a daily practice.
담보 잡으러서지 다 뒤오더라는 세메시야 되와 세메시 되고요.
So first is the refuge in bodhicitta, and then after that is the four immeasurables.
아니 semje 탐정도 사제 tum적일로 대깨와라 딩에는 이제 지고 이게 깨와라 딩에는 세메시가 들어오고 그래서
In order to generate bodhicitta, you have to first generate compassion, and in order to have compassion, you have to first have the four immeasurables.
어디서 다 된대가 되네 뒤오더마다 산제 좀 되는 딱 떠봐 아니 쇼가 가셔요 그래서
And after that, there are a few verses of praise to Buddha Shakyamuni.
대안에 산제 좀 되는 떠봐 표현이다 다 같이 다 쏘는 거속 그와 딱 치고 싸우게 그래서
So because you offer praise to Buddha Shakyamuni, and you accumulate great amount of merit.
안에 뒤오더라 배나 다 까마르는 것이와 뒤가 다 대신 못하고 되는 거예요 아니 가서 단순히니까 저거 못하고 가라티 송고에서 내려서
And then after that, there is the verse which starts with like star, like mirage, and so forth. So that and explains about the impermanence, death and impermanence, and also explains about profit and rebirth.
등지 인바이다 다 뒤에 도와줘야 아는 나는 랑그 선생님 사람이 담아서 도와줘야 돼. 뒤에 가서나 가제 다또 수도도 되어 있나 산지 때마다 돼 랑그 쌤 말을 된다 같아. 다 산지 때마다 해서로.
And then there's a line which says, subdue your mind perfectly. And this is the teaching of the Buddha. And so what is the teaching of the Buddha? Is subdue one's mind.
아니 단단해서 쌤 내자 시간 뜨면서 그 원도 처리를 가제 내가 타와 네 원도 만들어 가지고 숨을 와서.
And so right now, our minds are kind of dominated by delusions like attachment, anger, and so forth. So not letting the mind fall under their influence is what we call subduing the mind.
다 대게 냐면 갔나 아니 나와서 냐면 몇 기치고 어떻게라 다 쓰는데 탑신은 그래서.
And so the practice to be done in order to subdue one's mind is the practice of the three trainings, like the abandonment of the 10 and virtuous actions, the practice of the three trainings, and so forth.
그게 다 현재들이나 산재 공부 도고 와서 다 나도 조사 들어가자고 한다. 아니 조사를 쓰는 것도 있어. 니 전에 다 뒤올래 아니 먼저 가대라자만 가대라면 나저던 저거네. 다 가대라냐 좀 도와서.
And in order to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, one has to purify the negativities and accumulate merit. And so for that purpose, then we engage in the Brahma-Sankapa Guru Yoga after that.
아니 뒤에 가대는 가자고는 저 아니 뒤가 다 연합된다는 점이 아니 다 쓰는 소상이고 그래서.
And so there you engage in the practice of the seven limbs, and through that you accumulate merit.
아니 지혜를 뭐지 간지다 지혜를 뭐지 나면 지혜를 뭐도 체단 되게 라면 이제 나그래서 아니 지혜를 뭐지 나면 이제 세대 간지야 랑거 라마다 강강하게 하니 다 뭐지도 겁니 다 소소 신음 시간다 그래서 몇 시간 되라고 그래서
So the Guru Yoga is called Lamasankapa Guru Yoga, where you visualize or imagine, your guru, as Lamasankapa, the deity of Lamasankapa, and then imagine receiving blessings, in the form of lights, nectars, and so forth. So that's called Guru Yoga.
그거 아니 가데 라지페나 다 지를 못 치된 간소 다 가데 이가 치세야 돼 가지 다 당신을 해도 대라 단다 아니 야셔봐 이슈도 되게 나지지는 다 슈데 그래서 야셔봐
And so the Tushita Pure Land, so you visualize the Tushita Pure Land. So Tushita Pure Land is the Pure Land where Buddha Maitreya is residing, just like the statue or image that you see here.
네가 가다다 잠벌린들이야 마 배고 이해세네 가지 나 선지 좀 내가 땜바데 롱가자쳐와 아니 나 롱가로 맞아쳐 차쳐 맞아쳐 다 간지 맞아쳐 맞아쳐 차쳐 가도 맞아쳐 줄 가도 가도
아동.
벌써 들리네 그래서 이나가 간제 산에 좀 내가 땜바도 봐 넘네 되게 줄라 아니 다 자신을 때나 타고 말해서
So you see that Buddha Maitreya sitting in that position, like sitting on a chair, ready to stand up and come down, or walk down to this earth. So that's what it symbolizes, ready to stand up and to walk. So anyway, it is said that Buddha Shakyamuni's teaching will last for 5,000 years. It says like 10 sets of 500, so it's like 5,000 years. And after that, it will degenerate, and then after some time, after that, the Buddha Maitreya will come in this world, and so forth. So that's what it said.
근데다 대마 뱀지시는 덥다듯이 마 쉬어 봐지 대 투가라 아니 나도 샘제 가가는데 쉬어도 임바지 아니 이제 돈이 도게 싫어도 다시 손이 아니 다시 한쪽에서는 이제 돈도 싫어 봐지 대 남아야 다좀 가고 남아지 제가 상당히 그래서
So he's sitting in that position, and at his heart, his wisdom and method and wisdom, the compassion of bodhicitta, and the wisdom relies on emptiness directly. So those two, the method and wisdom, are in the aspect of a heap of cloud.
다 들리게 쉬워 되나야 두가 되나야 되게 좀 받으나가 아니 지금 보시나 이 자체적으로 대선당은 맞는데 저기를 조심하셔야 되고 그래서
And so and then on that heap of cloud at the heart of Buddha Maitreya, you visualize the three, Lamasankapa and the two disciples.
대마들의 세다 대야치 다 수준된 대단도 와지라마 그들도 와지쇼 대가야 다 주체로 띵하라 다 주대한 수수 샤프가 있나 가지고 이게 치들 두사 말해서도 대단도 샤프 들어서
And then you invoke or invite them. They come from the Tushita Pure, the heap of cloud, flows down, and then remains right above your head, at the crown level. And so, like it says, at the distance, that would be just enough for you to make prostration. So, if you make full prostration, you will almost touch the throne there.
되네 대지 다 되네 애네 뒤에 좀 거라 다 싸워도 집에로만큼 인지로만큼 가 여와지 대한 수수로 너네 수수 강성적으로 취해서 버리는 거 여와 뒤에는 다 수수야 다 촉사고 이 말이지.
And then around surrounded to him, the Lamasankapa and the two disciples, all the gurus of the different lineages, and they are in front of them. They have a table on which there's a scripture. There's the teachings that they have given. They each have given the teachings that they each have given in the form of scripture. And And so in their presence, then you imagine engaging in that practice of the 7 limbs in order to accumulate merit and purify negativities.
다 제원으로 오시는 다 라몽체는 다 소집에 제원사다. 다 자동만에 간지 제로로지 쏘고 뒤다 거도 다 내주 가거나 이게도 집에 넘어 다 산지 자동 예산은 다 저기 올려 들어와.
So anyway, if you want to do the details, then in more detail, then you can do it according to Lamlu. But in short, you can just imagine like that. Just as I described, Lama Tsongkhapa with 2 disciples, surrounded by all the lineage gurus, the direct and indirect lineage gurus.
아니 제일 뭐지 가데는 만들리 싶은데 가르에서는 뭐 싸움을 당하나 들어와.
And so why do you have to invite Lama Tsongkhapa from Tushita Pure Land?
들어와. 아니 말아서 가데라 뭐omba 가데는 깨와기 아니 보차샤봐요. 다 되게 뭐가요 소유레스. 솔직히가.
So one reason, is so that we can leave imprint to be born in the Tushita Pure Land.
들어와. 니네 아니 다 지금 뭐지 다 가데가 주는 수요레스. 예외 진짜 가르에서나 마음에 산제 돈이 짜니는데 아니 지금 뭐지 산제 주치바들레스. 주치바 아니 산제 너무 된데 지금 뭐지 송이레스.
Secondly, it's said that Lama Tsongkhapa is in Tushita Pure Land, and the reason is because among these 1,000 Buddhas of the first millennium, the Lama Tsongkhapa is called the 11th Buddha.
오다들이 진짜 라마로 먹고 송아 가지마지 가데는 만들리 시작이 지대로 들이래서.
So the reasons like that. So that's the reason why we have to invoke Lama Tsongkhapa from Tushita Pure Land.
들어와. 근데 이나다 산제 탐주지 아니 다 제외랑서 하셔봐도 보바셔야 돼 말이에요. 아니 다 아니 대양 아니 다 지금 뭐였다 보바셔야 돼 말이에요.
So it is said that the embodiment of all the Buddhas' compassion is Avalokiteshvara, and also Lama Tsongkhapa is also the embodiment or emanation of Avalokiteshvara.
아니 산제 탐주지 천세에서 지레되게 시랍 하이 모셔봐도 지금 잠이야 대양다 지금 뭐시든 지금 잠이야 들어가기 말이에요.
And also the embodiment of all the Buddhas, the wisdom appearing in the form of deity, is Manjushri, and also it's said that Lama Tsongkhapa is the emanation of Manjushri as well.
아니 다 산제도시도 아니 가로 툭툭 니바쳐도 찌르되마도 빼셔나도 지금 대양 다 지금 뭐시든 말이에요.
And the embodiment of all the Buddha's power is the Vajrapani, appeared in the form of the deity, and again also it is said that Tsongkhapa is emanation of Vajrapani as well.
그래서 미매체에 뜻이 시리 전면체 공부 잠에 더 많이 줘서 상에다 가서 아니 강천 개비에서는 다 강천에는 배워지 대인 개비가 다 투기제 되죠. 성과가 이런 좀 해서 말이에요. 들어왔어.
And then so there is this Mitzema, right? Mitzema in Genesis, which is showing the Avalokiteshvara. And then Tibetan Ongo Jambarium, that's the Manjushri. And the woman of the Samveda, that's Samveda, so the Lord of the Secrecies, that's Vajrapani. And then Kanchen Keba means Kanchen means like the land of snow. Keba is the scholars, of the crown. The crown of the scholars of the snow of the land of snow, and at the feet of Lama Tsongkhapa, and maybe such a quest. So that's what it said in that prayer, right?
어떻게 되게 담보 아니 렌다벨 지름 모시가 봐 나왔지. 지름 모시가 렌다벨 봐 나왔지. 아니 렌다벨 같은 어단테 말하는 다때 지름 모시 전화를 해도 되는데 세대 남한테 고기를 다 지름 모시 밖에 말이었어.
So it is said that anyways in the fourth line of this means like the crown of the scholars of Tibet or Senate of Snow, Tsongkhapa. The Lord Tsongkhapa's feet and made a request. So before it was Lama Tsongkhapa who composed this praise, and he offered this to his guru Randawa, and then Randawa said, "No, this suits more to you." And he offered it back to Lama Tsongkhapa, and where he altered the fourth line saying Lama Tsongkhapa. Instead of saying Randawa, he said Tsongkhapa. He changed that and then offered it back to Lama Tsongkhapa. And so anyway, so those are the qualities of Lama Tsongkhapa.
아니 지금 뭐지 단데 소소 맞는데 투지된 시에 아니 되는 막 고소 들어가는데 딱 얘가 되는 저게 아니 동부 고소 들어갔을 때는 막 얘가 되면 말하지 막 그거 비교를 왔어.
Anyway, so then you visualize Kamasangkara and do this like that, and then you are in their presence, then you engage in this practice now, the 7 limbs, right, which starts with making, inviting, and then requesting to live long, and making prostrations and so forth, right? And then including the mandala offerings as well.
어디는 뭐지 딱 있으면 되고 있는데 되게 지금 뭐지 아마도 아니 고소 되니 다 돼서 간말 소수 아니 딱 내나서 막 밤에 소수 이런 거 돼서 들어가서 다 소원이 소수 싸매나 다 조사 저거 뭐 가면 이거 그래서
And also, at the end, where you after making, 7 limb offerings and the mandala offering, and then you visualize Kamasangkara with these 3 deities, Avalokiteshvara, Mejusri, and Vajrapani, and then visualize light emanating or flowing down from them, like white, yellow, or orange, or blue lights coming down, and then purifying your negative beliefs of your body, speech, and mind, like that. So if we do that, then that also becomes a practice to purify the negative beliefs.
제가 수수 보내가지 딱 도관을 외로 가고 남아지네 수지 내가지 들어가 같이 독은 나포로 괜히라고 남아지네 막 대성 대양 다디 사고 올라야 아니 그냥 또 말하고 가람으로 내 둘이 가는 말이야 고소라 사야 고쳐 송선이나 수수 들어가죠 이제 내 관심 먹고 그래서 수수 들어가지 말이야 이제 많이 들어가 수수 들어서 말이야 또 양식 또 사야 고쳐 송선이나
And then also, imagine, like negativities coming out of your body in a form of like a black liquid or black smoke, and then there are beings underneath, in the ground underneath, who doesn't get to eat. Imagine they open their mouths and these things enter into their mouth and it fills their stomach, like a food, becomes like a food for them, and fills their stomach. If you think like that, that also becomes, it becomes practice of purification and as well as generosity.
아니 소소지 내가 들어가서 마트는 왜 가버려 야자 되게 대화를 떠서 선하지 가지로 했다나 배도 그랬어. 가버려 대화로 소소 일단이 나가는 왜 가버려 놓자.
아니?
대사면 되게 왜 들었더니 소소리다 생각을 대화 계속으로 삼아이나 그냥 다 배도 그랬어.
And then also you can imagine that one's whole body is filled with the lights, white lights, and that brings a joy in one's mind. If one can think like that, that will be also beneficial.
아니 대체가 다 조사를 하는 선언 조사하고 그래서 선언 조사를 하는 거잖아요. 그래서
So after that, you purify the negativities as well as cumulative matters.
아니 대화라 다 조라 선언 조사이니 소리가 사고 간다. 아니 혈압님보다 소라 다 조이시 조사하고 그래서.
And then since you have the cumulative wisdom as well, so after that you recite the Heart Sutra, in which you accumulate the wisdom.
아니 혈압님보다 다 매매 대자가 되게 그래서.
And in Heart Sutra it keeps, it says no, no, no.
Right. 대단 가서 좀에 다음에나 좀다쳐 여러 가지 통일되게 그래서.
So it says no form, no sound, no smell, etc. Right? But we can see there is a form, there is a smell, there is a sound, right? We can see the form, we can hear the sound.
근데 매사에 가나 나라도라 너와 나지요 말이라고 얘기해서.
So when it says there's no form, that means that there's no form like it appears to us.
아니 시당 수대 저한테 제다 젠도 소발아 때리 듣고 그래서.
So actually the form comes into existence by depending on the causes, conditions, and other things, right?
이나 먼저 나한테 삼발아 텐제 지금 나게요 말이더라. 고랑게 투정원에 조용하게 랑문이가 조용하고 나한테 그래서.
But when it appears to us, it doesn't appear as as existing in that way. It appears as existing from its own side, without depending on causes, conditions, and so forth.
배나 만주 수보 대 쉐고나 샤나 쉐고나 샤나 샤 되게 가도 다 샤는 좀 말로 왔어. 샤 말로 왔어.
So, for example, when we look in the mirror, we have the reflection of our body in the mirror, and so we think that is our body, but what appears in the mirror is not our body, right?
근데 이다 얘나야 시도 주되어 봐. 얘 먼저 주고 되게 될 거지.
And so, but we we do have the body, right? It's not the body, it's not the one that appears in the mirror, but we do have the body, right?
근데 여자 간세 소소 나지 요 말은 나지 저거 말이 다 되는 많이 메서 되거든요.
And so when it says no, 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 it means that there's no existence of things like it appears to us.
다 들이 능해도 그러나 아니 다 티가까지 손하고 이식 독서하고 이래서 그래 시간이 못 내봐이나.
So if you recite the Heart Sutra, then that time you accumulate the accumulation of wisdom.
아니 되네 다 되네 마 아니 나무로 먹는 텐데 아니 원래야 뭐하는 데마나 다 티만 남을 쳐서 되게 소시와 있나?
And so after that, what's more, Lamit?
나무로 먹는다. 불을 먹었는데 남이 진동이고 시행으로 되는데 말 나무로 먹는데 되니 다 뭐가 되진다나 아니 다 이마치로 소리 나면서 아니 대중에는 되게 어쩌면 상교를 해서.
And then after that, you recite that prayers of the Lamrit, or the graduate part of the enlightenment, and then after that you do the dedication verses, recite the dedication verses. If you do that, then that includes all the practice that can be done in the whole day. So that can be done in the day practice. So if you're not sure what practice you should do as a daily practice, then you can just do that. Don't have to do so many other things. You can just do that.
Sometimes you have not, if it doesn't finish, then we will get rush. But that team, Mamu Cherana, Yaboda, Kaja Mamu Chama, that day, Chana to give a child the order.
So if you can do a whole lot, then of course that's good. But even if you can't do that, if you can just do this much, then that includes almost everything.
Okay, that thing also changes. Didn't know.
So that's just a short form of practice.
Okay. 다음은 나다 처음부터 나다 처음부터 나 되게다가 다음은 시바 되게 되는 거. So 시바를 was.
So like we said, there is no things existing in the way they appear to us. So to what does it appear to? It is the mind, right? It appears to the mind, right?
이 나게다가 다음은 셈바 셈주스니 그래서.
So the mind, to which it appears, there are two, the mind and mental factors.
다음도 마치 셈주로 차대게 그래가. 그래서 셈사지 다 이지 모르게 사는 셈주사도 다 들어로 받치게 셈주래죠. 처음에.
So the mind is the one that sees the entity of the object, and just the entity of the object, and then mental factor is the one that sees the qualities of that object. So it's like the one that assists the mind to see more things.
셈주 때 매바 옛나 아라도 수주 셈주 매바는 셈등이 얘기 샤와셔도 말해도.
So if the mental factor is missing, and then the mind will not be able to perform its function.
이징 모든 리뷰 전에 셈, 최근 리뷰 전에 셈주스러워.
So by recognizing or by cognizing just the entity of the object is called mind. By cognizing the features of the object, it's called mental factor.
다 셈주 때라 양 아니 근로가 영행가 당하고 가도 납사를
And then the mental factor, there are 51 mental factors, right? The 5 omnipresent mental factors, 5 object ascertained mental factors, and so forth.
영행가도 근로가 세야 다 시바데 예팅 중이시. 다 얘도 이제 샤워 시바라 다 내버려 보여요. 근데 지금 하나다 이제 샤워 좀 말해서.
And so these 5 omnipresent mental factors and the 5 object ascertained mental factors, they have to be there all the time. If any of these are missing, then the mind will not be able to perform function.
다 티오라 개와 지식 있어야 되나 가서 또 대화로 살래서 다 모자 진행하러 사이바스.
And then after that, the 11 virtuous mental factors, right? So we have already gone through the faith, and then after that there was the shame and the embarrassment. We have also gone through those.
모자도 치에서야 돼. 모자와도 치유가 있어야 돼. 샤와테다 대신에 롱거 말에 상고지고 그래서 뭐까지.
So the shame and the embarrassment are the mind that thinks that it will not be good, it will not be all right, or it will not be correct to do such and such things.
옛날 한 제대로 대신에 롱거 말씀하시. 다 제대로 되는 롱거 말씀하니 그래서.
So that kind of thinking cannot do it. It's not alright to do that. Thinking can come on account of oneself or on account of others.
Today, by Yenza, Kazanazo, Jite Chujedan, Chiba was.
And so last time we mentioned, we had a discussion about the shame, or embarrassment, because somebody will say something, and therefore I should not do that, and the eight worldly concerns are very similar, right?
Today is a Nesamna, in that tree, Jite Chuje, Captain Nimble Samu to the car as well.
And actually, I think it is contrary to that, the eight worldly concern. It contradicts with the eight worldly concerns. There's something that goes against the eight worldly concerns.
Karasavayana, Rana Jamakona Jedichina, Rungo Maria Samaji Kajita, Shawatan Rungo Maria Samaji, Yangamar Sami Reswa.
And so either because of oneself or because of others, and one thinks that it is not alright to engage in such and such action.
Jidichi that time, Nyamba, Karo, Yanakawa, Manina Makawa, Music Tora Project, Sugawaya, Matina Maka. And it's Yamba Rana Gawa, Marana Maka, Tanagawa, Matina Maka, and then Naza, so can cooperate. Or Najagi, Jani, Chidi was the better color as well.
Whereas the eight worldly concern is like the mind that becomes happy when somebody praises you, and becomes unhappy when somebody defames or criticizes about you. And it becomes happy when you gain something, and it becomes unhappy when you lose something, and so forth. So that kind of mind is all based on grasping at the self or arrogance. So this is totally different from that. But this is my thinking. But you can think yourself also. What do you think?
Okay. There is Shiva Machaba, yes, Machaba, they challenge to the Machaba.
So, anyways, next one is the non-attachment. And, so the non-attachment here says so that's not being attached.
Machaba, Machaba Kachina, Subana, Sibi, Namla, Chabami Pati, never Shabala, Mijibi, Tensibilachina, Koadam, Koye, Yejela, Chabami, and then Yejela, Mijibi, Tensibil, yes.
So, as I said here, what is non-attachment? It is a lack of attachment to such existence and the articles of such existence. It has the function of acting as support for non-engagement in misconduct.
That's just the yet over that yet trip that rangi, Rajan yet ship that shalamine, yet lata, Seba, yet Traman de Logilata, Traman dopa. Tagaro. Tangazi can water, Maribe Canane, and yet a Traman de below. The net was the chocolate was. And the Tigre Losotana, yet a Machaba, yet a
So attachment is based on ignorance, right? Based on ignorance, then you have this mind not wanting to be parted from such and such object. That's called attachment. And so the non-attachment, which is the opposite of that, is not wanting to be with that. It's not having the wish to be with that. So anyways, it is a lack of attachment to psycho-existence or the articles of psycho-existence. And so what we are attached to is either the psycho-existence or the articles of psycho-existence, right? So mostly we are attached to the articles of psycho-existence, right?
Are you attached to
Articles of attachment to psycho-existence? So most of the things that we see, we touch and so forth are all articles of psycho-existence, right? And so not wanting to be parted from that. And then based on that, And there comes the feelings of suffering and so forth, and then based on that, then there comes also delusions. Many types of delusions arise from there.
어디시다 세수마다 연주식이 잡아먹으리 봐서 다 되더라고 그랬더니 오도가 됐는데 됐을 오도가 됐어요 그래서
So it's just as it has been said above, it is the knower which is this enchanted and lacks attachment.
다 되고 당가와도 다 세담을 받는 게 밖에 되네 세담을 받가시나 샘센남다 등하다 등하지 내지 추는 끝내 나서만 매봐 다 샘센나 안에 등하지 내가 샘센나 안에 등하지 네 단소라 끝내 나서만 매봐 끝내 막아봐 매봐 그러와
So more details will come later. Also, the next one is the non-hatred. So it's regarding non-hatred, the comparative knowledge says, what is non-hatred? It is a lack of malice with regards to sentient beings and suffering and the source of suffering. It has the function of acting as support for non-engagement in misconduct.
시에서만 따라서와 세당 세야 돼 지금 같이 제세도 세다시베 아니 미여 좀 강라미네 가요 세당 제와 주식이 근데 나서베로나 다 세다지베 미여 좀 세야돼 빼자는 세월이 통화서 옛날 파지 세다지베 미여대 토와디도 땅을 좀 강라되는 시간 계획에서 해서 파시다 미여서 빼자는 세월이 통화서
So it says here, just as it has been said above, it is a knower that concurs the generation of hatred within the observation of any of the three objects that generate hatred. I'm not sure about what the three objects are, but I think it could be the three feelings: the feeling of happiness, suffering, and neutral feelings.
그런데 아니 그 소화 등을 때문에 아니 저는 기억을 해서 왔습니다.
So from the feeling of suffering, and you generate hatred, right?
그리고 가르질 지금 접하는 대그 소설하는 마가베 지금 소설 처음 만들어가지고 처음 만들어 때는 아니 대라 시에 당시에 기억을 해서
So when you're meeting with an ugly object, and then you get what's that feeling of suffering, and then from there comes the hatred.
와, 다 내차 세당시 다 주가 뜨문면 봐나 누가 그대로 뜨문바 강시 나왔어.
And then the next one is the sixth one is the non-ignorance.
와, 네, 넘버는 못 봤어. 레슨, 삼바선, 똑바로 시시 소소 똑바대. 이게 봐서 봐라 문제가 된시가 있지. 단디 혈압 붙잡으리 말이야. 간지 혈압.
So regarding the non-ignorance, the comparative knowledge says, what is the non-ignorance? It is knowledge arisen from fruition, scripture, contemplation, or realization, and is a wisdom of individual investigation. It has the function of acting as support for the non-engagement in misconduct.
내 자신은 뜨문서 떠나서 두성이 또 대성이 말해 들어와.
So the attachment and the hatred and ignorance are the three roots of the delusions.
아니 뜨문서한테 사다 천이가 중화 사다 천이가 쪼라 내 되는지 아니 샘 그래 또 죽어서 오는 것이 뭐 되는지 말해 들어와.
So the ignorance is like the element, earth and the water element, in the form of mind. In the form of mind, it's like feeling of very heaviness, kind of the mind that kind of feels kind of heavy. So that is the ignorance.
그럼 중화 사천이가 사다 천이가 휴체와이다 아니 샘들지 다 죽어서 오는 것이 같이 뭐 되는 거 미시방으로 되는지 다 빼잖아 빼들이 자 이래서.
And so it said that it's kind of related with that, the element of the water and earth, and so it has that kind of the feeling of heaviness.
세다세대 아니 중화시는 것소 제 아니 다 사천매 매야 되는 게지 아니 초에 나가인 발라 조지 되지기 그래서.
And so then the hatred is kind of based on the fire element, and so it has the heat, the
some corner sound chick so much sort chick. We say chick check this. That is your special than yours.
So, you get hated, like when you become angry or, when you hate somebody, right? And so I think that's how it's relating, to the delusions like that.
And then that's just any subject, and John Lula, so John Lula telling you, got yellow, you should go as bigger, and it's strategy.
And then the attachment is kind of based on the wind, the air, or wind element, which is kind of like fluctuating or moving around all the time.
What they call special. Young day and also Lila Nata and Pekins. Chipa Pekin. Chipa Pekins. Napa Sancho. Chipa Pekin. Another small Chipa Pekin. Another small special. Can't nature shed up things that they no more can with it.
So anyway, so all the delusions, all other delusions, comes from these three poisonous delusions, like attachment, hatred, and ignorance.
아니 나도 나다라 치파지 백한지 다 나다 조금이네 대সম나 때는 나다 그냥 봐요 대도 치파지 배샤이래서
So there are kind of three kind of the diseases that is mentioned in the text scripture, like what's that? That's the vials.
long 치파 백한
The wind.
Mucus and bile.
Yeah.
와
So
대도
those are
참는
the three
것들은
kind of the diseases, and so all other diseases come from those three diseases. So just like that, all the delusions will come from these three root delusions.
Which one are the three? I'm sorry. Can you repeat the three?
Bile, mucus, and wind.
돈도 차 많이 와는 건 나요 그래서 롱 치파 백한 차 많이 마시고는 너단다 예월했으니까 대대 코도 차 많이 마는 나요 그래서 대나올 때 나가 먹어야 나요.
So we have these three diseases all the time, but when they become unbalanced or increased, and then from there comes the other diseases in the body.
그래서 내차 세상 때문에 여가 있나? 다 유머가 바로 그래. 다 배터리 그래서.
So just like that, if we have these three delusions, like attachment, hatred, and ignorance, and all other delusions will come from them.
오케이. 다른 사람들은 만나셔 봐라. 다 간지 아니 뜸무서야 돼. 간지 간지 예무시 봐. 몽봐. 다 얘들아. 인중은 되게 뭐 되게 다 말이 봐셔야 돼. 그래서. 근데 뜸무 매 봤어야 돼. 대명이 다 혈압 차도. 혈압 시간 좀 그래.
So the ignorance is being ignorant to the object, to the reality, and so the non-ignorance is the opposite of that. And so not being ignorant, but knowing the object, right? Like the wisdom.
내가 was 아니 깨도다 요즘 강력이 제일 때문에 그 년보 신입이 소소도비 혈압스. 내가 너무 매봐서야 돼. 아니 깨도서나 아니 다 연대 가신 것도 연대 가지 싫어 잡고 말이야. 쉬어도 째고 가지 깔려지는 장고 대라 장도리 해서 근데 강력이로 와 강력이 제일 때문에 년보시게 때문이야. 따대 때문에 시험이 되게 그 때문에 년보시게 소소도비 혈압 So
just as it has been said above, it is a wisdom of individual investigation that is able to serve as the antidote to ignorance arising from its cause, being either acquired through birth or arisen through applications.
반 내도 샘중 도선은 계사 탐지지 자와 예제 탐지는 고비 탐람 람 탐지지 양이 따와 예노스 내 자신을 때문에 내 생주도 쓰나 내 처음에는 세상 받던 걸 봤는데 다 남탐지 자와해서.
So like we said here, these three mental factors are like the rule of all virtuous qualities, the method for seizing all discontent and the essence of all the paths.
그리고 사람 탐지 두선 보자다 제가 봄이 제대 인식 이제 탐지 두선 가능한 여번 주의 실 내리 니봐 달라야 예제 레벨 좀 대시 빌레지 somewhere. 내가 내 예제 강가 배자 냠내 강가 넣어서 내가 그래서 근데 두선 내가 매바셔야 되겠지 뭐셔야 되지 않을까.
Since all paths and stages are for the sake of abandoning the three poisons as well as their imprints, and all misconducts definitely arisen from one of the three poisons. Hence, their function is specified as acting as support for effective restraint for misconduct.
대답다 독성대 유모 가리가 짜와레스. 유모 가리지는 내성 가리가 짜와체기요. 그래서
And so these are called three poisonous delusions, the three poisonous root delusions. And so all the delusions, either no matter what kind of delusion it is, as long as it is delusion, it has to arise from either of these three.
되네다. 참 예바가지 짜와지사지요. 그래서
So they're saying the alcohol is the root of all the mistakes and all the misdeeds.
But we can also this country say, maybe a little salt to say, alcohol, chant 예바가지 짜와레. hele get you with love.
And so you have to say it very quietly that the alcohol is the root of all the misdeeds in this country. Right?
Otherwise, they're all the bars country against for us.
We work with
다 예바 다 창창도는 이집지 다 창석을 차고 말하고 이나 최소 마시가 있나 아니 telefon 다 예방 운전고 이거는 대답을 해요.
And so they say that alcohol is the root of all the evils and all the misdeeds, but of course it won't harm if you are able to control. Right? If you go over the limit, then of course it will become the root of all the evils.
배차상 루지 다 내맞아야 다 잡아져야 아니 다 지금 같이 잡아다 많이 말했어. 야무나 저랑 정한테 돈 거랬어. 야무나 라데 세월했어. 야무나 다 재미는 냐면 내고랬어. 다 잡아다 잡아다 말했어.
So there's a story about a monk who was forced, either to drink alcohol, kill a goat, or have sex with a woman.
You guys heard this?
Yeah.
Then he thought, if I kill this goat, it's big negative for me. Then he said, oh, yeah, sleep the woman, then also I get big. Oh, 그다 서로 잡아오면 다 받쳐오는 내 지금 못 찾고. 데려다 나는 차나 도전한다. 나는 죽으면 시행되는 것도 그 말했어.
So if I sleep with women, I'll be disturbed. But if I drink alcohol, maybe it will be not too bad. It will only harm myself. It won't be too bad.
아니 그 차한테 돈을 했으라.
So then he had alcohol.
차한테 돈이 차에 세네. 걔네 남양도니 라데한테 차도 그치서 그랬어.
So after he drank alcohol, he got drunk, and then he killed the goat and slept with him. So that's why it is said it is the root of all the evils.
아니 가서 돈 봐. 마치가 싸워서는 창가 아성도 나고 그래서 봐.
So that's why in most of the vows we have the four root vows, and then on top of that there's the alcohol.
What is
Drinking alcohol is one of the vows.
그래서 다들 내가 세다 뜨는 선데 예바 큰지 싸워래 싸워래.
And so these three, the attachment, the hatred, and ignorance are the root of all the delusions.
다도 다 되려면 대도 그 사회에만 다 이바디 제버셔나 남탐전들이 다 대처럼 내가 세다 뜨는 선데 예바다 예바다도 참아셔봐라 다 빼만 버려서 다 중간에 셔셔 그래서 와.
And so it says that the divisions that are instances of these three manufacturers are infinite, because taken extensively, all parts are subsumed within them.
그래다 다 되라 맞춰봐나 세들라 맞춰봐 세인디 루노데 심어 되는 게 세우신 상바스 다 모든데 인도도 세들 차고도 왔어.
And so here is furthermore regarding non-attachment. It's non-attachment to this life. One's mind, having turned away from these lives to seek the purpose of future life, is the attitude of beings of a small scope.
와. 근데 다 세들 맞춰봐야 돼. 세들라 맞춰봐야 그래서 맞춰봤어요. 세들라 맞춰봐. 세들라 맞춰봐. 아니 세들 루탄이 심어 되는 일이가 아니 루테라다 아니 맞춰봤어요. 그래서 다 생각하면 좀 좋았어.
So non-attachment to this life. So it's the not having attachment to this life, giving up this life, and thinking about the future lives. But we don't have that, right, in our mind.
Right?
We don't have that kind of non-attachment, do we?
No one give up that. We cannot give up. But also don't give up, okay? If you give up, become sad. Same as one person said, "Many people will be better." Say, "Better, no." 내가 양삼도 미래가로 땅을 치료 땅을 원도 지키고 삼네요. 저도 제대로 되면은 이 땅이야. 이거 말해서 봐.
So if you haven't reached to that level, then you should not try to give up.
But don't touch too much. 다 맞춰봐지. 아니 스피편서 맞춰봐. 띠네 로가 개운정 삼아서 당 고외가 아니 딱 분석을 맞춰봐. 띠네 다시 띠네 로 롱이들아니.
And then it says non-attachment to all the marvels of psychic existence, having turned away from one's depths from adherence, is the attitude of beings of the intermediate scope.
안에 쓰지 니게다 스방 고바다 시완냐데 니가라 맞춰봐스 맨내면 냥에 더더니 저우치고 삼바스 스바는 고아리 아니 시완나 아니 고아 보면 냥데 니가라 맞춰봐 아니 맨내면 냥 거더니
It's non-attachment to the extreme of both psychic existence and solitary peace, and seeking non-abiding nirvana is the attitude of beings of the great scope. That's even further impossible for us, right?
다른 가도 이거는 맞춰 되게 맞춰봐 이거 그래서.
So these are the non-attachments. These are the kind of non-attachment that we should have.
그래서 너도 내가 첨부를 해줘. 네, 다 니만큼이 떠가지고 와서.
So these are important, these delusions are these three delusions are this is the attachment, it is the root of the delusions.
다음도 레레는 간직간이 힘받아서 그자도 시거나 다 수로 탐전된 시거가 지금 가라니 다들 시도 말했어. 네 내가 간직간이 다 맞춰와 간직간이 내가 차고 이원도 시거나 다 제보서 시도 말했어.
As it's explained in this manner, it follows that all the scriptures will need to be explained here. And so how could I possibly do that here? There's no way to explain all this, no way to be able to explain all those scriptures here, right?
남주 남랑 아니고 그 남주 때문에 있는데 다 남주체 루파는 뭐 저당이 그 때문에 있어.
And it says that here I merely indicate the door to the intelligent ones.
We are intelligent ones. I think you guys are intelligent ones. Most very high level educations. What is 다 대전도 세담에 봐야 매번 등을 받는 남자. 어디다도 집안에 있을 때 강도 세담을 받는 거 아니다.
Says likewise, the same applies also to non-hatred and non-ignorance.
와, 너 때문에 받는 수도통의 사람이 있지. 다른 사람은 수도통의 사람. 나 그래서 뭐
It says here the non-ignorance is a wisdom of individual investigation.
다 수도통의 사람 세나 다 마모바 시바스 모바들라 미시바들라 모바스 시바들라 다 샤르세로 모바사스 모바스.
And so the wisdom, non-ignorance, ignorance is not knowing, right? So non-ignorance will be the knowing, right? So wisdom, so that is wisdom.
시람이신 늦게와 다 내리시라도 가능이 제고 있나 내가 깨도도 조준이 돼서와.
And so there are two kinds of wisdom like that. So there's one that's occurred through birth, so you're born with that, or on the one that you got it later through making effort to gain it.
같이 간도지 현재 같이 지로로 같이 누구 장하고 같이 깨우도 왔어.
And so there are some knowledges which comes automatically to us, right? Without having to study or practice much.
그리고 내도 깨닫는 게 이제 내지 넘어 문발에 내내 깨라면 되버는 좋아하는 문바 지셔서 다 가능한 깨와 남의 과자 먹으시는 다 내려더니 깨를 틀리지는 고 야매어들 뭔가 들어왔다는 깨더었어.
So this non-ignorance occurred through birth, and is indicated by arisen from fruition in the above citation, because it arises from the fruition of past action without depending on the circumstances of this life.
단도 공부만 하는 패도나 쇼슈해야 된다. 수라를 지니도 가고 나타나 뜻이셔라. 다 쇼슈해 받다가 다 들어가셔. 쇼슈해야 돼. 롱로 쳐라. 단다 쳐도래. you guys have all very high degrees, right? They tell us logic in humor, what they tell us. And that's how you did so much logic in humor. Tell us your use.
So all those degrees that you have in this life is gained through the study, right? So that is what so it's not ignorance, no reason through application refers to the three, the wisdom arisen from hearing, the wisdom arisen from contemplation, and the wisdom arisen from meditation.
So
first you have to hear a lot, right? You hear or study. This is based on the basis upon which one engages in hearing, with the wisdom arisen from hearing. So he says in the Namsangavas that Lambin says first all this you have to hear a lot about all these scriptures, and then after that then you should all these scriptures should appear as advice to you, instruction or personal advice to you, and then at the end you have to engage in the practice of these scriptures or teachings throughout day and night.
And two by the kitchen was right, but two by maybe go by the loud trouble to achieve by some race, Lapa many dollars at which is.
And so hearing first, hearing or studying, is very important. How to study, trying to engage in the practice, is just like a cripple, a person without a hand, trying to climb a rocky mountain.
And two big the movement said dramatic. Two big that the movement between a secret, two by kitchen.
And so the hearing or study, is like a lamp, that dispels all the darknesses. If you study, you come to understand, so you're not in the dark anymore.
And then don't too much. Then it don't so much. Then it take gone there. That won't you know.
And so first you hear or study, and then secondly you contemplate whatever you have studied. You contemplate on that, and then at the end you meditate on that. So the occur through application has three, through the hearing, wisdom arising from hearing, or wisdom arising from contemplation, and wisdom arising from meditation. And so, basis upon which one engaged in the hearing with the wisdom arisen from hearing is concurrent scriptures as well as their commentaries. And so it says the teacher's scripture have 12 divisions, and so there's the first one is a set of discourses. And so there is the 12 sets of 12 divisions, the sets of discourses, sets of melodious descriptions, set of prophecies, set of verses, set of purposeful expressions, set of background accounts, set of expressions of realization, set of legends, set of birth stories, set of the very extensive, the set of marvels, set of setups. And since it will be verbose, if I were to explain in details the identity and the principal subject matter of each of them, I shall not write more here.
And then today and you did the teachers to Torah, that should not listen, send it to a sheriff chase. That's you, that in a long row. This, that, sooner or sooner more day, they're not a young girl upon the US. They will know doubt was more less.
Then Acharya Shankara taught that these 12 branches of spiritual can be subsumed into 9 branches.
That Sura Nakara, that they less the car, the Kasha, Sanjay, Topo, and 아니 가시가 티리지 딱 가로 딱 로지 손대가 되는 다음에 딱 고미가 가서 그랬어.
So these different scriptures have different, some these are just the stories of the teacher, or some just the praise offered to the teacher and so forth. So that's why there can be different scriptures.
그거 대단히 좋아지 지대신다 다 대원 지대나 다 리지라 시에 됐디나 주대나 다 리지 시에 지된다 그저다 양 수가 그저래 그디가.
And so this is by taking the four, the main background and accounts and his associates in the listing above as one, the two are condensed into 9.
반대 문에 전에 다 남주 만화도 책을 놓으셔야 되는 문제들이 단데 나로 가르치려고 준도 내가 하고 말해드리다 거의 말해줘.
그래서
내 남자도 공부 시간을 놓으셔야 되죠. 이거는 그렇지. 내가 가가로 지셔야 돼요.
They're not going to. Then there's this 9, can in turn condense into 3. So the 9, there are different kind of scriptures can be condensed into 3. And these are the baskets of discourses, the baskets of disciplines, the baskets of knowledges.
다 대내성보다 대내성이 채워가든가 대내성 다 제재건 채워가래.
And so what is the difference of these 3 baskets? Is from the subject matter. And the main subject matter of these 3 baskets is the 3 trainings. So after that, so depending on which subject matter it is, and it is considered as this discourse or that basket of teaching or this basket of teachings.
대안 대외 되는지 지제 저 틀음이라고 해서.
And so the main subject matter of the basket of discipline is the training in ethics.
아니 대외 되는 예면대 아니 나도 조절이 되나 하고 그래서 그죠.
So what kind of what category, what baskets of teachings does it fall into? That text that's written, and you can tell by reading the heading of the scripture.
담전 참말로 샤사로 세번하는 딜리 대지대 아니 대외되네 대지 말해서.
And so it is actually the part of the homage. So if the homage is paid through the omniscient one, if it says I pay homage to the omniscient one, then it is usually the baskets of discourses.
대미가 나 담전 제바 사제 좀 되는 대외가 나와 소소한 코인 봐야 다 코나 샤사바는 대외 되네 좋아.
So discipline, the baskets of discipline, and so Tamjikhyamba, the omniscient one, is the Buddha Shakyamuni, right? Since he is the teacher of the disciplines, and so making praise or homage, paying homage to him, indicates that this text is going to be about disciplines.
아니 너희 되는지 저 띵에 대신 말해. 띵에도 저 지금들아 너희 되네 좋아.
And then the main subject matter of the basket of discourse is the training in meditative stabilization.
아 띵에 대지 저 신경들 사제다 시켜서 막 탐출하시는 거야. 사제다 시켜서 막 탐출하시 찬스는 조절하게 와나 들이 대지대 아니 너희 되지 않고 그래서 좋아.
And so if he says pay homage to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, then that text will fall under the category of the baskets of discourses.
아니 게임에 됐는지 저 샤라지다 말이야. 다 점에나 샤다로서 나와야나 들이 대지대 아니 다 샤라지가 같이 도시에 대지 말이야.
And so the main subject matter of the basket of knowledge is the training in wisdom, and it says that if the text says that I pay homage to Manjushri, then that shows is the baskets of knowledge.
Okay, this is a little hard to become, but you get big imprints. 그러니까 벌써 시작해서
So you live imprint in your mind.
그봐. 너대 전발 나지 나 로당 템페 돌때 데라는 도가 샤바츠를 그거 이스. 아니 바켓한테 내가 좀 느끼라고. 오케이 되지. 양면바 끼띠기로 제가이나 라와 썸 냠도 때만 너대 되네. 드릴 라와 때만 아니 라와 끼띠기 라와 때만 되게 되네. 샤게 라와 때만 아니 냠베 되게 소만다. 그바는 내비 전선라 전세 처리를 때네. 근데 되게지. 시골 잡는 거니 베팅에 시게 탐초를 제가 때마다 공대에서 다들 야 시다 심하게 돼서 봐. 다들 남중은 남중은 거 가는 나지도 그랬으니까 그냥 밖에 들고 지나 하셔도 말하고 지금 뭐.
So this is how it is in general, but according to addition, the component of knowledge teaches that the three training are equally taught in the basis of discourses. And the two trainings in ethics in meditative stabilization are taught in the basis of discipline, and the training in wisdom is taught in the basis of knowledge. And so this is a little different from what we explained, what we discussed earlier.
대상 대답을 남기는 바 남아 고의 처바 현도 거는 달리는 다도 갈래가고 싫어하는데 하고 갈래가고 싫어하는데.
This is what is the intention behind this when one got the stipulated boundaries of discipline by properly relying upon mindfulness and introspection. One will be able to effectively seize laxity and excitement through just that, whereupon it becomes the supreme method for generating meditative stabilization. Nowadays, forming an understanding of such stage of the path is extremely rare.
Is right? I think this is the truth. 대다 강하다 들렸다 whatever 다 들리면 강하다 대다 강하 두 번씩 이제 되는 건데다 제가 되는 섬다 되게 좋아하는 거래 주만에 레마도 투바 잠시 투베 대한 르바진 야나양다 미세비 미세 제시 삼중은 예반 예배 돌아 조금만 조금지 거네 남산에 상마 남나 냠랭지 세반에 시다 친구는 예바이 말루도
And so therefore seek much hearing on the three baskets as well as their commentaries, the basis upon which one engages in hearing, analyze again and again the meaning of what has been heard with the four types of reasoning, and generate an ascertaining consciousness, put the entire path into practice by way of analytical and stabilizing meditation. Upon that, the very meaning which the wisdom arisen from contemplation has gained ascertainment of.
대다 소소도비 시라지 저 담아마도 투바 돈에 령터가 그게 너무 다그 지서 나한테 강양 몇삼바 그야 가라 방향소 나한테 봐라 장난다 취재다 저봐서 그러면은 랑가 다윗한 잠보 최대도 그거는 염자 포도쇼만입니다. 소저가 이제 로저하고 맞아서 다 같이 되다 보이나 아니 다 소저가 가는 메시지 통화로 그래서 되는다.
And so these are the assertions of the great trailblazers. Hence, those who are intelligent should engage in such a method or mode of path that pleases the converse. And if you discard much hearing, the excellent cause of wisdom of the individual investigation, and follow fool's stupidity like a sheep, dwell in the relaxed and idle manner without contemplating anything whatsoever, and yet wallow in the conceit of being good-hearted, practicing Dharma, engaging in practice and so forth, then you will waste your excellent support with this leisure, ruin others who are equal in fortune, and even become a serious condition contributing to the degeneration of the teachings. And so anyway, so you say that we should, study as much as possible, should not just remain idle.
다들만 직접 못 보이든 너도 된다 또 너도 가려든다 하지만 간절하게 투성하고 세고 그래 들어와.
And so there are many all these different explanations, the verses and so forth. All what mainly states is that we should study and contemplate well.
아니 대양 소주 고지 장에 군미지 장에 지금 미면은 고야고 말해서로 내가 고기를.
And so of course you have to have your goal set for doing such and such. Without the goal, then your study or practice will not become very good.
내가 두좀 강하게 잡아대 아니 그래 싸움을 따니 내신이라 그래서.
So whatever you have studied and contemplated, you have to have ascertainment at the end.
대체는 공부할 때 내가 영화되면 제가 그래서.
And so anyway, whatever you have studied and contemplated, you have to meditate on that, and through meditation, then you have to gain the experience.
다들 나들이야. 이소리 있는 거 천내 투당 삼대 바 공부하는 거라듯이 강한 투자한테 아니 사모하고 따네 딱 공내 시라고 시작하고 제거 그래서.
And so here at the last verse by scholar Vasubandhu also says in the Treasure of Knowledge, this is by abiding in ethics, possessing hearing and contemplation, that is strong application in meditation.
Okay? 근데 다 넘바 존지 있어야 되겠다.
And now the seventh one is the effort.
Okay, I think we stop there. And you got any questions to next year?
Oh, a quick question.
Yeah. Good. Give question a little bit more open, everybody a little bit. Back up.
I have a quick question. I have problem differentiating the contemplation and meditation. Don't you, when you meditate on the topic that you learn, isn't the same as contemplation? And you learn, then you contemplate, then you meditate. But I don't see a big difference between contemplation and meditation.
Samba도 공부하지는 하는 시 다케와 통도서 나못 해봐지. 그래서 samba지는 공부하지도. 나도 토부지를 공부 sam바지도 하고 있어. 그래서 sam바도 공부하지 때는 개발자 통도서 가게 개발 가게 됐습니다.
삼바세 삼바라 다 디테나다 따다 해는 좀 아니 찌워치고 그래서.
So
니가 다나 되더라.
그래.
다나 두선 공부해야 돼. 시당라면 삼세대 다 아무 투바시. 되는 시에와 다 시비도는 싸움에 대다 가능가를 들으시는 싸움다. 다들 매반이나 다 디테나는 공격. 찌워치는 거지. 요금지.
So here in this context, contemplation means to think about it, right? To think about it. So first you hear, it says, okay, this is this, and you hear that, and then you study, saying that this is this, and then after that you contemplate on that. Means like, oh, is it really like that, or is it not like that? Is it like that? And so you checking at that point, making sure whether it's like that or not. That's contemplation. And then once you know this, oh, it is like that, then you familiarize your mind, focus on that contemplation. Whatever you have contemplated, it says, yeah, it is like this, not like that. And then once now it's not, yes, it is like that, it's like that. So you keep on thinking like that. You familiarize your mind with that. That's meditation.
Okay? Is it different?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then?
Yeah, Geshe, back in the 12 divisions of the scriptures, number 9, I'm curious about number 9, a set of birth stories. What are the birth stories?
So it is the birth stories of Buddha Shakyamuni in his previous lives. So in such and such life he was born in such and such. And then during that time he did that, he did this, and so that's the story about him. And so there are 34 life stories of Buddha.
Okay, so they're not birth stories of other emanations.
No, it is the birth story of Buddha Shakyamuni's previous lives. Yeah, in this context it means that, but there can be a birth stories of other Buddhas or other Bodhisattvas and so forth.
Is that the Jakarta terrace? It's called Jakarta terrace.
Jataka.
Okay.
Jataka terrace. What do you say? Jakarta? That's like one of the cities in Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
Jakarta.
Okay.
Jataka terrace. Yeah.
남주 아니 사실 따마도 야가라 대사수야 로사차니 아니 샤로 장와서 문음 세대 그래서 문음 저래서 좀 토해서
So in the monasteries, after the New Year, the New Year celebration, then they do extensive prayer for about 14 days.
대가라 쇼게 가디나 아니 딱 행복되기야 주저해서 이렇게 쇼지 막송을 해서
So during that time, then there will be in a session in the morning, during which the abbot will read the stories, read the birth story of Buddha.
딱 깨럽서 같이 되기로.
So that is the Jataka test. Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Then
You have a question?
behind that.
Geshe. So my question is, if one has a mind of non-attachment towards an object, is it possible for that mind to have aversion towards that object at the same time?
사실 내 처음에 그 쌤이나 유치가 또 처음에 쌤이 여봐이나 나는 유 다라들은 나는 가서 내가 막아와 쌤이 그래서 내가 막아와 쌤
내 처음에 쌤이나
내 처음에 쌤이들은 내가 막아와 쌤이 그래서
다 여기 차도
남도 사야 들었지 아까 독자실 때 들은 막 자기요 말했으면서 기가 독자에서 그러다
이것도 이거
나왔어
잡아봐야나
좀 맞춰봐다는데 내가 다들 어레다 걸 막아오려니 다 도저히 깨워 열었어
아니 맞춰봐다
로다 요다 유치가
예치랑 맞춰봐다 막아봐니 대 막아들은 맞춰봐요 대 이거 막아들은 또 맞춰봐요
또 맞아 지금 막아서 막아가 지금 콘도사로 콘도사로 지금 그러다 독자실 때 들은 말
대체도 대대다 맞춰봐요 하지 아니나 맞춰봐서 그냥 개된다고 잖아
and the was go with
다 가오면
so aversion, how do you define aversion? Like it is like negative, right?
Yeah.
I mean, non-attachment is a positive mind.
It'd be
It's
the
a virtuous
opposite.
mind, right?
And it'd be
It's
the
a
opposite.
virtuous mind. And but if you have the aversion at the same time, which is a negative, I mean, depends on how you define the aversion, right? And so that then maybe it's not possible at the same time.
you got to it.
What do you think?
We got
What others think?
Well, if that's true, doesn't it mean that
It's possible.
if that's true,
그러나 저런 딱 이제 거리마다 지금 마강으로 되고 대다 이게 다 명물에 들어왔어.
So if you have that kind of aversion towards something that is delusion, right? That is a negative.
단기가 저런 차별로도 요마를 거는 차별로 요마를 왔어.
So of course at that time you don't have attachment.
다 마찬가지로 듣게 열대 요마를 생각하고 다 생각해야 돼.
You don't have attachment, but do you have non-attachment? You don't have attachment, so do you have non-attachment?
오케이.
So towards the object that you have aversion, the object that you have aversion towards, you don't have attachment to that, right?
Question.
Do you have do you have non-attachment to that? You don't have attachment.
Aversion is still attachment.
Can one say that the
I think it's not done right.
Are you done?
well, I had
The follow-up question.
Way to say it?
the reason I ask is, to me, it seems that if it's not possible to have a mind of non-attachment and aversion at the same time, then it means that if you have non-attachment, you will necessarily have non-hatred.
If you have non-attachment, you necessarily have non-hatred.
The opposite of aversion.
So the day by na, the 마찬가지로 나 때는 막 시담해가지고 요거 치겠어. 시담해가지고 요거도 마찬가지로 요거이나 근데 시담해가지고 요거도.
가려라 주시는 거 가려.
또 유치나다.
유치나.
마찬가지로 매바이나 마찬가지로 시담해가지고 요거도. So if there is a non-attachment, then there should be non-hatred as well, right?
That's what I would think.
Yeah. 그런 사람들은 상관도 있어. 마찬가지로 요거이나
맞춰 이거잖아.
시담해가지고 요거도. 딱 그것이 다 야마라고.
So why?
마마면 세대고 뭐 대처를 했는데 세당 세대 났습니다. 무강으로 왔어. 대리가 지나가 마찬가지로 매왔든지 그
말라 마찬가지로 여섯이 주자. 요들아 마찬가지로 요나 요들아들은 시담해가지고 요거도. 조금 마찬가지로
아까
So what's the, I'm sorry, could you clarify again the connection between?
Why do you think like that?
Yeah.
Okay, talk more. So I'm also confused. What? We have to talk more than more.
So I was reading this text the other night, and this occurred to me that if you have a mind of non-attachment, you're not attached to an object, then if you don't feel aversion to that object, then you have non-hatred towards the object because they're opposites. And this whole question arose because I was thinking of the antidote to attachment is aversion, or generating a mind of aversion. So, yeah, my hypothesis is that if you have a mind of non-attachment, and you cannot have a mind of aversion towards an object, then then non-attachment and non-hatred always arise simultaneously. That's my logic would be wrong.
마가 그거죠. 일단 그 마가한테 그 콜로스는 마가 쳐라. 나 가서 마차버디 잡아봐라. 딱 마차버디 이러는 거 마차버로 해도 들라고 마가로 열었어. 메가로 열었어. 마차버로 해도 메가로 열었어. 이거 저기도 쓰라고 해가지고 들라도 데레바이나 쓰고서. 마가로 들라 때때 가서 시간을 벌어. 가서 시간을 메가로.
시간은 못 가버리지.
저 시간 메가도
아니 대용초도 있어.
대용초도 있어. 대용고도 쓰고 마차버로 열나 아니 시간 메가도 열고 있어.
아, 그럼 하고 있어.
Okay, say it once again. So if you have, again,
No, you guys are together.
If you have a mind of non-attachment towards something,
okay, the first you say with attachment being, the antidote for attachment being aversion, right? Begin with that, with your logic of how you arrived at.
I was just thinking of the difference between attachment and aversion. They seem to be opposites.
Okay.
I learned that because one's an antidote to the other. And I was thinking about the mind of a non-attachment. So if you have an object before you and you're not attached in any way to that object, well, if that's true, then you don't have attachment towards the object, obviously. But if you can have a mind of aversion towards it at the same time, again, you wouldn't have attachment towards it, you have aversion, right? Okay, so is it possible to have this non-virtuous mind and this virtuous mind at the same time? One is non-attachment, being virtuous, and aversion, being not virtuous.
No,
And then I thought, well, no, you can't have both. And if that's the
non-attachment
case,
and attachment are not opposites. They're not opposites. Attachment is one thing. Non-attachment is the lack of it. So it doesn't, it's not the other side of the same coin. In other words, it's more of a semantic thing. It's not, attachment is a certain thing, a certain emotion, a certain feeling. The lack of it is not the opposite of it. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's just the non-presence of it.
It's
not the opposite, it's the non-presence.
it's the lack of.
But,
It's not the polar opposite of. It can be anything.
but isn't,
이쪽에 잡으면 곧 다니면 잡아야 개미해요.
잡으면은
잡으면은 거의 좀 맞춰봐.
맞춰버리는 거지.
이거 말할 거 다니면 잘해.
그래.
Okay, what is it? Yeah, go ahead.
okay, but isn't Adam's contention that a mind of non-attachment should not also be able, isn't Adam's contention that a mind of non-attachment should, being virtuous, should not also have aversion? Is that right, Adam?
right.
Okay. But I guess what I wanted to say to that is, if aversion is present, that is still attachment. If aversion is present, it's an aversion to something, and therefore attachment is also present. Because you can't have aversion towards something without also having a mind of attachment.
왜 이렇게 생각해?
그래서 마가벨로.
아니, 막으면
마가벨로도 매번 영어는 때는 다 하는 게 잡아 잘 먹었어.
막으면도 여가 있나? 아니, 다 잡아도 차로 그랬어.
잡아 잘 먹었어.
잡아 차로 되는 거는.
뭐 차려서 말이야. 잡아 내려오서. 잡아 차 차서 말다. 내려오서.
마마 잡아 때마다 잡아 때 소소
Because aversion cannot be attachment.
Say, what was that?
Aversion cannot be attachment.
Aversion cannot be what?
Cannot be attachment. Cannot become attachment.
It comes from attachment. Yeah, that's what I think.
Huh?
It comes from
The opposite of it.
근데 마가벨로도 다 잡아내 기가 그랬어. 잡아내 기가
Did it
그랬어.
come from?
Aversion is the opposite of attachment.
No.
No, but then what are you averse
야,
to?
그래.
But what are you averse to then?
잡아서
There's still
다
something.
먹어도 잡아는 무슨 맛이 났어요. 잡아서 돼.
So first you have to identify the attachment, right?
No, it's
Well,
hatred of something or hatred to something, which is attachment.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
In my 2 cents here, I think attachment is when someone misidentifies, takes the delusion or the illusion of reality, and takes the delusion or the illusion of something and misappropriate or has a mistaken view of reality, that things exist from their own side, that things exist as a solid fixed thing. Because if you have non-attachment, in my mind, by definition, it should be impossible to have aversion. And if you have aversion, that by definition must be attachment. And all aversion is just a manifestation of attachment.
That sounds
that's what
like
I'm
more.
saying.
That sounds more like $2, not 2 cents.
Yeah, but
Whatever it is.
but the definition of,
First one's okay.
But that's what I'm
Chapa
saying.
said,
It's the
가서
same
A different way of saying it.
same difference.
소리가 내는 chapa 그 이것도 attachment. attachment 사실 가지 라디오 주시 깨내는 얘도 체지. 딱 얘도 참 되는 것이 그거죠.
So what is attachment, first of all, right? So we have to identify the attachment. And so attachment, is the mind that want to have something and don't want to be separated from it.
스스로 고도
So
살아서.
that's something that you want to have it. You want to have it and you don't want to be separated from it. So aversion have that.
다 코노데 코노 살이 때 코노가데 이 앵글 됐다. 나도 다때 자고 그러고. 다들 그러고.
You
So
can't
the object to which you have aversion, you don't have that wanting it and not wanting to be separate from it. You don't have that kind of thing, right? So to that, you want to be free from it. You want to be separated from it. So it's totally two different things.
How about you guys different?
no, but attachment is overestimating the good qualities of something.
Yes.
Whereas aversion is overestimating the bad qualities of something. They're opposites. Attachment and aversion or hatred are the opposites emotions. So they can't exist at the same time. You can't be happy and angry at the same time. So,
That's $20.
You accept
add a zero at the end.
credit card? Credit card now.
$200, 수석.
I would not be averse to that.
샤워해야 돼 먼저. 가서 요리 때는 뒀다 줘라. 제가 그러나 요월에 될 하고 뒀다 줘라.
$200 with the
샤워
aversion.
들어가게 하잖아. 만약에 가와다 마가데 이거 지금 깨치 말았어. 찍대가도 거기 알았어. 찍대 거기 마가치 거라. 대대는 도저히 깨야 말았어.
들이다 깨면도 들이다 다들 문물해야 돼. I think you give the answer to her. Right?
Did you give an answer to your question?
He answered mine?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I don't agree.
It's good. Yeah, it's really good, A little bit of discussion there, and more clean. No.
너무 재밌어 뭐라. 재밌어 뭐라.
그래도 낳고 맨날 잡아서 해야 돼. 나중에
Drink over it.
잡아서 해야 돼. 랑근 높이 이질라면 땡기면 라바 도는 딱때 때도 잠은 되버리고. 아니 딱 그대로 싸마지고.
So first of all, we have to identify the object, right? I mean, identify or define the attachment, define the hatred, define the aversion, and then once you have the definition, based on that definition, then you can see whether it's that or not. So what is the definition of attachment? So like the definition of attachment based on what he said is like something that you exaggerate, right? So something you see more beautiful than it really is, and then you want to have it. So you have to see that more than what it really is. Of course, there's kind of delusion there, right? Seeing not the reality, but also there. But you also want to have that for yourself.
다 세상 세대 예 가르치려면 미인데 이따라 막아버리지. 아주 막아버리지. 세상 세대.
And so the hatred, is you look at the aversion is you look at the object and then you don't want to have it. You dislike the object. So like here it says the lack of, so then the non-hatred it says lack of malice, right? Malice? So the object towards which we have aversion, we don't have attachment. We want to be away from it, right?
How about you're looking? Good. Think about a little bit Tibetan hymn, okay, to that. Go back to Tibetan hymn. Yeah, this is very good. If you do, we can, one subject, we can debate each other a couple times, then more clear. As we just one talk, then leave that, then to do constant, okay?
Angela, are you using aversion and anger synonymously in this case right now?
No, not synonymous, not exactly the
So
same.
what would aversion be in Tibetan?
Magawa.
Magawa,
Yeah.
just not liking.
Not like
Nothing, no go wrong.
그래, 딱 맞아. 나 aversion 같은 시절에 maga왔어요. 난 코로랑 말하다. 코로랑 maga왔어요.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I would agree like, especially if it's the same object, it's impossible to have attachment and aversion at the same time because they're not the same mind. But they are related because if you have attachment to one thing, you automatically have aversion to its opposite. So if you have attachment...
Not to it, it's opposite.
To its opposite.
But not to it.
Not to it. So you
Okay,
can't have
so it's
attachment
not-
and aversion to the same object. But if you have attachment in your mind, you have the potential for delusion, for aversion as well. And if you have aversion, that means you already have attachment to something. So they're related, but they're definitely not the same. They're dependent upon. Aversion comes from attachment.
Yes.
Good, everybody get him? You sure?
Good what?
You sure, everybody?
They
Agreed.
feel related, they do feel related, I agree with that.
Does every object have an opposite?
I would
Yeah.
say no.
No.
Huh?
I would say no.
Yes.
Not every object has an opposite.
Yeah.
Not every object is opposite.
No.
Every object has an opposite.
As there's something different,
Yes,
but not
no,
something.
you're saying yes.
I say
Oh,
yes.
okay.
No, a chocolate cake doesn't have an opposite. But a vanilla cake is not, the
No,
opposite
the
is a
opposite.
different.
You can like two opposites. I like hot water and cold water.
They're not opposite, they're the same.
So what is
They're not
opposite?
opposite,
What is
they're
opposite
different.
of
What's the
chocolate
opposite
cake?
of
Well, everything in the universe that's not chocolate cake.
Huh?
That is an
It's like it's
opposite.
messy.
Everything that is an opposite of chocolate cake.
It's not opposite, it's different.
It's different, it's not
It's not,
opposite.
it's not the opposite,
What's the
like,
meaning of opposite?
Yeah, it's a direct,
Okay,
Yeah.
then Jeffla, what about non-chocolate cake? Chocolate cake versus non-chocolate cake.
Strawberry.
It's unchocolate.
it's different, it's not opposite.
No, non-chocolate cake.
Yeah, I know.
Right? I'm
Yeah,
not
so
talking
strawberry
about
cake
things
would be
that can fall
non-chocolate
under the category, no, I'm not saying.
But she's got more
I'm saying-
definition by non-chocolate cake, it's more than just a vanilla cake, it's
Yeah.
just
It's
a
a
cookie,
non,
for
no,
instance.
it's not even a cookie, it's non-chocolate cake. Right? So if you were to say, give me an example of non-chocolate cake, I could give you a whole limitless examples
Other
of
than
that. But
chocolate
I'm
cake.
talking about non-chocolate cake as an entity itself, non-chocolate cake.
If aversion and anger, or if attachment and anger are diluted states of mind, then they can't have opposites because they have no basis, in other words, you could just make up, like with the chocolate cake example.
요즘에 차고에는 요들이 녹초.
If you're attaching to something
요들이 녹초.
that's harmful, do you know what I'm saying?
So again, so you said first of all, attachment.
What I'm trying to say is
Okay.
that if attachment and aversion are diluted states of mind, then they're a construct. They're conceptual thinking. So the basis of their object would be more.
I got it, Ray. I'm going to joke.
Okay.
Very scary.
저랑 잡아요. 뭐로 가로 그 잡아야 되는데 잡아야 해서 로션들아
because
그거는
그것에 대해 말해.
그거 말해. 오케이.
Okay,
So
he
maybe
lost
the
his
joke
joke.
Maybe the joke's on you.
jokes on Ian.
what is it?
Well, I was,
너 니자 됐어 그러다.
yeah.
다 저런 이제 됐어요 와나.
뭐 니자 가서 다 맞아.
잡아요,
잡아다시. 나 니자 로 마루가 되는 거라. 로 마루가 되는 로 쓰야 말했어.
그래서 나 그래서 나 그러나 잡아지세 이어 잡아 이게 들어 잡아지는 티 로션아 아니 다 동안
시간 그래서 그것은.
아 제나 배나 이거 줘 오케이.
But,
He's laughing at his own joke before.
저런 제기 됐어. 이거
그러면
maybe we can put there right.
okay.
do you have hatred to yourself?
Do I have hatred to myself? Not at the moment. No. I'm doing well today.
안 해요.
근데 저랑 때문에 잡아요.
But you have attachment to your wife.
Yes.
근데 저랑 다 때문에 도시도 많이 했어요.
So aren't you the opposite of your wife?
No.
근데 저랑 때문에 도시예요.
So is that opposite of your wife?
Am I the opposite?
Is that an opposite of your wife?
No.
Already?
No. No, I don't believe so, no. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. It's,
맨날
But again, you can answer this. Because you were saying that, right?
Well, if it's non-wife, I mean opposite to his wife, so
Yeah, that's the
he's
non-wife.
No, you can think of your wife. You can think of your wife, like this if you have a wife, right?
Yeah.
So you have a wife, then you have attachment to her, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what Geshe is saying. So you are the opposite of your wife?
If it's non-wife, if I'm in the category of non-wife, then
저도요 말았어요.
Ah.
저도 맨날.
Non-chocolate wife.
그래.
I like that. I don't know where it's going, but I like that.
도시사에 가서 많이 받아요.
So opposite, it means non-that, right? So non-wife.
인사
What's a non-wife?
아
What's non-wife?
It's not wife. It's not wife.
What is a non-wife?
저랑 뭐
I think they're looking at it like math.
저랑 제가 많이
Wait,
받아요.
Plus
yeah,
and
it's
minus,
this
that's
is
how
math.
I.
And you are non-wife, right?
so that would mean I have an hatred towards myself. Is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
예.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying
I
it.
get
much.
that. What I was saying was like whatever it is that in the wife that I would be attached to, whatever qualities in her that I'm attached to, whatever her beauty she might have.
So if you have attachment then to your wife, so you will have aversion to the opposite of your wife, right?
Well, the
So
opposite.
non-wife. So you will have aversion to your non-wife.
Which is
What is this non-wife? What is a non-wife?
So opposite. So that's the opposite.
That was her assertion, right? That you have an attachment
Yeah,
to
yeah,
someone, not to
Minus
you.
minus is
It's
plus.
the
Yeah.
opposite.
That's why you haven't seen them together when they're.
Let's say you do have attachment to her.
But right, so he's following the logical,
Yeah.
the consequence
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
assertion that if you have attachment
No,
towards one
no,
object,
no,
then
Lorig.
it's necessary to have aversion towards the opposite of that object. So if you have attachment towards your wife, then it's necessary by your assertion that you have to have aversion towards non-wife, whatever is not, the opposite of the wife, of your
Which would
wife.
fall in that, and which would fall to the conclusion that I have aversion towards myself. Because that'd be non-wife. That'd be the opposite.
말이 다 돼.
That's not, then,
싫구나.
that's not exactly what it's
와이프도 와이프하고 그럼 잡아놨어. 싫구나.
So if it exists, right? If it exists, then it has to be either wife or non-wife, right?
다 쳐가야 돼.
What are you? Non-wife, right?
So how about you?
No, look, that was the point I was trying to make, that you don't have to have, to be attached to something, it doesn't have to have something that it's not. Do you know what I'm saying?
When I was-
It doesn't have to
When I
have.
was basically thinking, I was like,
No sense. It makes no sense.
Really?
No sense.
when I was,
It makes
what I was getting at was like, if I have a strong attachment to comfort in that moment, I have a strong aversion to discomfort. Because I don't want discomfort. So I have strong aversion to discomfort, I want comfort.
Not in the same moment though. Because mind can only, one mind can only, in an ordinary being.
Well, maybe not in the same moment, but definitely like that, if I have a strong aversion to discomfort, it's because of my attachment to comfort.
And there's an opposite, comfort, discomfort, it's not.
No, it's
I'm with
non-comfort and
Ian. I'm with Ian.
non-discomfort.
Not yet.
I'm with Ian. No, I agree with him.
What is it?
So if I have attachment to comfort, or if I have a strong aversion to discomfort, that means that I want comfort, I have an attachment to comfort.
Right,
Right,
right.
Just because you see an exaggerated
기분을 나오나?
good qualities of one object, it's not necessary that you see exaggerated bad qualities of the opposite of another object.
되더라.
This was that. 다크에서는 나지나 뒤라 나와는 뒤로 없어져야
That's
되는
more
거
like a
봐요. 그래서
Platonic point of view.
나는 기분이 난 도보디 놓쳐라. 도보디 기분이 놓쳐라. 기분을 자도는 난 도보라 되는 뭐든 나셔야 되었어. 됐어.
I don't know how you say it.
I'm looking at more through experience. Like, if I have an attachment to a
It's good.
specific way things look, for example, like, oh, I'm attracted to this particular type of beauty, I automatically, in my mind, I don't like its opposite. I don't like what, is
What is not
but is
that?
there an opposite, or is it just something
not
different?
specifically what is that, but what
Yes.
directly opposes that. Like, I
Tall,
love.
There's a lot of faults if you say that. There's all the non-things will come
I
there.
know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to the category of everything but non.
Well, you can really love the ocean.
Yeah.
Does that mean you hate the land?
No. Are the ocean and
No,
land
no,
opposite?
다 대략적으로 시작을
So what are the opposite? Non-land.
But whatever it is that,
Non-water, non-ocean. Does that mean that you hate non-ocean because you really love the ocean? Is what you're trying to say, right? And then,
Right, there's no non-ocean.
well, what about air?
Well,
What about
air-
fire? They're not ocean.
Right, exactly, but, but they're not the opposites of.
They're not the opposite
Not the
of.
ocean. They're their own thing.
You see, they're not, what was your suggestion, that if you
I will
love
shut that off. I've already shut that off.
Yeah.
They just talk to each
It's
other.
okay.
Yeah.
I've already shut that
Good,
off.
good. What you have said? Yeah. Good, you guys, good. Anyway, I like you guys. Also, I something not so 들어와. 나 코로나에 대해서 출력하고 진짜 빵을 가려고 그랬어. 결혼은 된 말에서 제고 말했어. 빵한테 치마에 많이 미쳐서 자고 마시면서.
He's saying that.
So yeah, you can say that if you like the ocean doesn't mean you have to hate the land.
Then you say you need to have because this is non-ocean, this is 자고 마시면서.
It's not necessary.
Right.
No, but then you were saying that, but land and ocean are not opposites. That's what your rejoinder, wasn't it? To
in that statement, it's not
In that
necessarily
statement.
opposite. Because that wasn't.
But I like all of your little interest in that. This is very good. You think about it, you get more understand. Okay.
With that, we didn't say it was opposite. But if you say.
You got the mic.
If you say land is non-ocean, then it would be opposite. But in that statement, we didn't say it was opposite. We just said it was different.
It's a non-ocean.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious.
Okay, so I think I disagree with Ian's assertion, but I have a corollary that I think is really what Ian's trying to get at. It says, if you have an attachment to an object, you necessarily have aversion to its absence. Not its opposite, its absence.
It's absence.
Right. If you have attachment for the ocean, then you have an aversion towards its absence. Not its opposite, its absence. If I have an attachment towards my wife, I have an aversion towards the absence of my wife.
So
Maybe
you
that's
have
not true.
aversion to him?
What's that?
No, just kidding. You have aversion to him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I- no, I don't.
Yeah, well, he's the absence of your wife, right?
No, he's not.
No, just kidding.
No, because in her absence, you might be a little happier. Your attachment I reduced a little bit, so.
It's good, yeah. Anyway, you got
Okay,
I'm
now
on
it's
the level.
degenerating to a different thing.
My mother never did temple. My mother, my mother, never did. Give me never give me la chapoke give me never.
Well, that's debatable.
If somebody has an attachment to, let's say, milk, okay?
Yeah.
And they're grasping to it, okay? Let's say another situation is they just like milk, but they don't hate it, so there's no aversion. You know, they can take it or leave it. You can take or leave something and not have an aversion. You're just not attached to it.
But if you have the attachment, you cannot have the aversion.
You just say, like, yeah, but I say it's, I like something, if I like something, it doesn't mean I'm attached to it. And it doesn't mean I have an aversion to it. It's right in the middle.
Yes.
It's, you know, it doesn't go either way. Because I can drink milk or I can not drink milk. I can drink tea or I cannot drink tea. I have hot water. I can put tea in. You know, I can do any, you know, I don't have to have a certain thing. I can be in the middle. And that isn't saying I have aversion and it isn't saying I have attachment. It's walking the middle way.
You go, girl.
That's great.
You guys think about that. This is very good now. Many different ways. Sometimes it not make sense that they make you a little bit jog your mind. Okay, now we stop. Thank you. Very good. Okay? Give a little bit job, okay? Your mind. I think we are not completely done this discussion. You have to more study, okay? This is your homework.
Argue with ourselves.
All the way back.
I got a 40-minute drive to argue it.
Yeah, thank you.
Just don't do it when you pass by a cop.
Okay, thank you.
30.